everybody, we're a little bit less than a month away from CBP Connects Charleston. This December 4, 5, and 6, you don't want to miss it. It's 3 days of education, networking. You're going to walk away with actionable strategies. You're going to meet a ton of great people. You can drink a ton of really great beer, and you're going to come for the relationships. And I can't wait to see all of you in Charleston. And today we're going to have a conversation with 3 people who will be joining us there. I'd love to meet our guest today, Alexa, because you are to the right of me. You get to introduce yourself first.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew, for having me. I'm Alexa Oliveira. I'm a senior account executive for Beer 30 Production Software. We're going to be attending CBP Connects in Charleston. We're very excited to connect with everyone and looking forward to the event.
And Alexa, I'm actually really excited to have you on this panel because, you know, as much as I enjoy seeing PK, it's nice to see and interact with another face from your team. So I would love to see more Beer 30 team members on future panels. That's the challenge for you all.
Awesome. We'll definitely loop everybody in. Thank you for that.
Love it. Scott?
Scott Kolbe. I'm an advisor to craft beverage for Market Your Craft. And we really help breweries, wineries, distilleries, and functional beverages with driving traffic to the tasting room, building engagements with their most loyal following, and capturing new sales. Can't be any more excited to be a part of the CBP Connects at Charleston.
And Scott, you and I have never actually met in person.
Can't wait.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited for that. We've talked so much over the past few years. I think you're going to be taller than I expect, but I'm not sure.
Trust me, I'm like giraffe tall. The extension for my camera, you know.
And Ross, you and I have met countless times at this point in time, but for everyone who hasn't met you before, what do you do in the world of beverage?
I'm Ross Hunsinger, and I'm the Director of Food and Beverage Innovation for Abstrax Hops. We provide hop extraction solutions, cannabis flavors, traditional fruit flavors, all kinds of things tailored specifically for the beer and brewing industry.
So Ross, you know, I'll pick on you first. How has your year changed? Like from looking at this time last year in 2022 to now in 2023, what's different?
Not much. It's just busier. It's the same stuff. It's just busier, and it's pretty cool to see. We like to maintain presence, and really, I think one of our great successes as a company is building relationships, and that's where we see the most success. So we try and stay present in person as much as possible. So more of the same.
And you all are so passionate about innovation in addition to relationships. So how do you believe you're changing the industry? Oh, man.
Some pretty crazy things happening at Abstrax right now that I think are going to have really cool global implications. But, really, I think at a core level, our value set is a little bit different than maybe the traditional dominant paradigm and players in the industry. I think we're approaching the market with empathy for both the brewers and the farmers in maybe a way that hasn't been considered before. And I think we're offering brewers tools to both create better beers, but also mitigate their risk in the grand roll of dice that is hop contracting and hop harvest and hop supply and oversupply, which is what we're experiencing now. So without getting too far into the weeds on that, I think that's what we do really well at Abstrax, and it really all comes first building relationships with folks.
You know, I absolutely love that. So for Alexa, you know, you talk to breweries across the country really regularly. What are some trends or neat things that you're experiencing right now?
That's a great question. I do believe that breweries are evolving tremendously and have definitely become more taproom focused. So introducing as many different beers or beers in rotation, things of that nature. You did hit the nail on the head about being around the world. I do have territories in Southeast Asia, Africa, South America. So just getting tons of different feedback, how beer is evolving in general.
Is there anything neat you're seeing from some of those countries that you just mentioned that's not something we're experiencing here in the States?
That's a good question. I think distribution is very different internationally than what it is here. Obviously, our craft beer laws change state by state, right? So I think just seeing countries market around their country and how their delivery services work and things of that nature has been really, really different to see. So
it's good insight there. Scott, how about you? What's getting you excited these days?
Craft is changing, and RTDs are blowing up. Non-alc and beyond beer is kind of coming onto the scene. The consumer buying behavior is changing. Closers and consolidations are unfortunately still a thing that we need to address. And so Market Your Craft tries to work with those breweries to really adapt and evolve to the new market.
What would you say, this is kind of for all of you, what are like the characteristics of the breweries that you all are interacting with that are really forward thinking? I mean, obviously they're going to be that, just what I said, forward thinking, but what are they doing that's different from some of those who appear more like satisfied with being satisfactory? Like, how are they taking the lead to not fall behind, but in turn stay ahead?
Maybe to start, so it seems like following the trends and making sure that you're up to date with kind of that low and no alc trend that's happening, really brewing absolutely true to style beers in kind of that 4 to 6% range that are more sessionable. And then I believe having a strong brand story that differentiates you from everybody else, and then strong platforms to tell that story, like events, which we're going to talk about in Charleston.
Yeah, I think at a brewery level for us, and even the larger organizations too, there's a really profound realization that maybe the salad days have passed, and that 3 or 4 dominant hop varieties and 4 to 6 dominant beer styles are not going to be enough to sustain long-term growth. So we're seeing people at all levels push off into those beyond beer categories, non-alcohol. I think the impacts that we've seen post-COVID have been unbelievably profound. I like to think about that and how that's changed consumption, like the reasons and rationale behind it, but it's something that we see in the market. Everybody's aware of. Everybody's looking 3 to 5 years out from now to kind of figure out what that looks like. In terms of flavor too, I think just changing demography, access to information, access to food and beverage and ingredients in ways that were never possible before are causing flavor trends to run quicker, and for there to be a wider palette of flavors that folks need to work with and be aware of. Jolly Ranchers are, Jolly Rancher standard pack, I gotta imagine, probably does not look the same as it did when I was a kid, right? The adoption of like tropical fruit flavors and the prevalence of all of it. Again, changing demography, changing tastes. I think this is something that the industry really hasn't seen or hasn't really started to reconcile yet, but is starting to wrap its head around. So we see people innovating in that direction, both at the brewery and the farm level for hop growers that are trying to match those flavor trends and develop tools to get there. So there's a lot happening for sure.
Out of all those flavors you speak of, is there one that stands out to you as something we're going to see a lot more of in the years to come that you're excited about?
Personally, like guava and passion fruit and like the more heady kind of catty tropical fruits are really, I think, there. And I also think too that stone fruits are going to have, I see fewer berries and things. I see more like stone fruit. I see more tropical fruit flavors. Berries I see more as kind of like an amalgam. It's interesting. I am privy to like different industry reports on flavor trends and stuff, and there's things that like always blow my mind. I didn't know what Superman ice cream was until pretty recently because I'm from.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm from the West Coast, so that's not a thing.
Okay.
But like even that, right? Like again, access to information informs what I know about flavor, as does everybody else's. Like there's somebody in Ohio that's never had a fresh guava for sure, right? So they probably know Superman ice cream. So it's a cultural give and take. That's how flavors have always worked, right?
That's fair. I'm based in the Miami area, so guava, passion fruit, these are prominent upfront flavors, and actually 2 of my favorite fruits. So it's definitely interesting to hear that you see that also taking off. So Very cool.
Yeah, no joke. I was telling my wife is Mexican. Those we were talking about a little while ago. I was in my early 20s when I had my first mango.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not.
So that
I'm
makes
not,
sense. Yeah.
It's just the way things are / were at the time. So again,
Exactly.
now that access really informs what people are aware of and informs this larger scent and flavor vocabulary that like the new generation is going to be imbued with. That I didn't get till I was 20. So I think that's powerful.
That's
yeah,
really.
I'd also go ahead. Go ahead.
No, take it.
No, I was gonna say I also notice honey trending more often. I'm not sure why. Maybe that's just down here in South Florida. I'm noticing a lot of honey in rotating taps. So interesting. Yeah.
Well, the National Honey Board, they're a partner to CBP as well, and they've been awesome about putting out education on how to brew better with honey. So I think they're doing a lot of good work there. No, Alexa, I am curious. Ross, I'll state right now, I'm not a huge fan of passion fruit. As much as I want to like it, I just don't love it. But you mentioned Superman. I'm totally familiar with the Superman ice cream that you get from like the ice cream truck going down the street. But I never really thought about the flavor. So Alexa, what is the flavor of that?
I was gonna say to Ross, I've never had Superman ice cream, so I wasn't actually certain either. Now I'm intrigued and want to try it. So I'm gonna take it out. I mean, especially guava. What else is mixed with it, Ross?
It was, as I remember, it's an amalgam because I did the old man Google thing. I think we're all going to do that. But it's one of those things that does not have
good old Google. 3
flavor: red, blue, and yellow. So that's what it tastes like, is red, blue, and yellow. So let's see here. Again, like this, and here's what's weird about this one. This came out in 1938, right? And what I got from the flavor presentation where I learned about this is that it has made a resurgence, I guess, in relation to like comic books in the Marvel universe or whatever. But
I think we'll have to keep looking on what Superman is, besides being just something that all the kids want to get because it has a gumball attached to it as well, probably when you see it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right
So
on.
Alexa, let's dive into like what you're seeing right now for the breweries that you're interacting with that are experiencing success right now. What are some of the things that they're doing, or any similarities you see across different breweries that are doing better than others right now?
Sure. So from my perspective, right, Beer 30 is a production software. So we're finding more breweries to be data driven. They're really trying to get precise numbers, eliminate spreadsheets and things of that nature. So we've definitely been busy connecting with breweries that are just happening to be more business oriented, right? Looking to evolve, expand their business, opening up multiple locations and things of that nature. So that's been trending a lot, at least from our perspective. And some of the exploratory calls I do have just been revealing a lot of growth.
To Alexa's point, it seems like breweries, small and large, are leaning into marketing tech, like the tech stack, and trying to find efficiencies wherever possible, in part proactively, in part defensively, because they don't want to let people go. They know they have to do more with less. And so if you could use things like artificial intelligence, which, Andrew, we've talked about quite a bit, if you can use any of these tools in a relevant and brand authentic way to help you do the heavy lifting for some of the grind work day to day, then they're taking advantage of that. They're trying that. They're really experimenting with it.
Scott, I like to switch it up a little bit now. You're going to be giving a talk at CBP Connects Charleston that I'm really excited about. So I'm not going to spoil it. So dive in and tell everybody what you're going to be talking about.
So we want to wake up events. We want to find that sweet spot where the brewery or any of the tap rooms that are hosting events can actually create something worth attending. We want to create something of a blueprint that could help any of the breweries who are attending CBP Connects walk away with some solid ideas that are very easily implemented when they get back to their brewery. We're going to have some fun with it, because if I've heard anything about CBP Connects, it's that it's all very engaging and interactive. And so we're going to, pit some teams against teams for bragging rights and play around with it, all within a 60-minute period.
So I love all that, and I can't wait to experience it. But why do you believe events are so important and even necessary in the current climate of beer?
Because there's so much competition and ubiquity out there, it's really more and more challenging for new and existing brands to break through the clutter. And quite frankly, a lot of the beers to the uneducated or to the new, they might seem very similar, brand to brand, brewery to brewery, style to style within that. And so you need to not only have solid liquid, which you've always had to have as a cost of entry, but you need to have magnets to your brewery, and an event and a solid event calendar is really a magnet to drive new and existing people to your brewery.
So I'd love to hear feedback from all of you on this because I love a good brewery event. It's definitely one of the reasons that draws me out. Scott, is there any events you've experienced that recently that have really impressed you?
Yeah, so behind the scenes, I've really been digging Brew with the Brewers lately. Really, the transparency. The transparency is a micro trend as well as a macro trend if you look at it in other industries, where people want to know what goes into their beer. People want to know what goes into their food, Ross, from an ingredients perspective especially. But if you've got that hands-on experience with a Brew with the Brewer day, and it could be a small group, it could be producing even a small batch on the pilot system, there's a lot of pride there. That also speaks to the fact that home brewing as a hobby is decreasing, and we need to address that because the future generations of commercial brewers are sourced from the home brewers who get stoked about it.
Good insight there. So Ross and Alexa, you both are passionate about building connections and relationships. You get around a bit. Are there any events that you have been to that have impressed you? Whether, industry events or perhaps just something you've been to at a local brewery?
There's actually an event that I have not attended yet, but has been on my radar. It's called Farm to Tap. And that's actually based out in the Tennessee area, where breweries are connecting with local farmers and having that connection on how to produce beer with local ingredients, etc. So it's something that I actually brought to the team, and hopefully we'll be able to attend sometime next year. But that's been on my radar. I think that's great to connect with locals and see how everything has changing ingredient-wise.
Yeah, I believe that's in Knoxville, and I've connected with Sharon of the Tennessee Craft Brewers Guild. It's a really neat partnership they have with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. I've heard really cool things about it. It's definitely more of a reason to do something versus just your typical whatever it may be.
Yes, definitely.
At a brewery level, I would say that the places I have felt really solid community when we have been present for different things. Actually, maybe the most is Blue Point in Long Island. Every event that we've participated with them in or been present for, they feel like an actual vital member of the community. And I think that's the true power of events and gathering like-minded people, is that it feels like an organic piece of the community that surrounds it. And so brands that really, Blue Point has done a great job of that. And I think it's interesting too, because they're now a part of their second monolithic organization, but it really does not feel like that firsthand, because it is the people making the product. And I think it's an overused term, but it's the authenticity that Scott's speaking to, is that it has to come from a real place for it to be resonant with other people. It's not something you can fake. Organization-wise, outside of CBP, honestly, the only other place that I would rank in that sense of community is what's happening with Crafted for Action down in Atlanta. I think the work they're doing is rad. I think the community they've put together and that supports itself kind of like it does is really powerful. And we're really thankful to be a part of that. There's conversations I had at the first one I attended that I will remember for the rest of my life, and that absolutely changed my perspective on the industry and our responsibility in it. So I think those are my tops right there.
Ross, I'm doing my best to convince Jen with Crafted for Action to join us in Charleston. She's trying to make it work. Jen, if you're listening, this is hopefully the push over the top to just block the days off, and we'll see you in Charleston in a few weeks.
Yes, exactly.
So, Ross, I probably know the answer because we kind of alluded to it a little bit about what you just love in general as part of, Abstract Hops culture, but, what you just love as a person. But what are you excited most for coming to CBP Connects Charleston?
I'm hoping for perspectives that challenge me or make me think differently. That's kind of like my selfish hope for the event. I like being in a setting and an environment that encourages people to think outside of the box and have conversations outside of the box. It doesn't even have to be about beer. I think that's where really great stuff comes from too. So really looking forward to the conversations that kind of help propel me through my process of ideation and kind of whatever it is that I do, right? To try and develop products that in an organic way make sense for the brewers to use, or that fill gaps that haven't been filled, or develop new things that, again, maybe don't even have any relationship to ingredients at all. So.
Yeah, and it's not that we're not excited for Scott taking the stage and all the 11 other sessions, but I do think there's a special part about having those conversations after hours, during lunch, in the mornings, where who knows what you're going to talk about, but it's going to make you a better, smarter, well-connected person.
Yeah, I like it when somebody comes up or has come up at CBP and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about this thing. What do you think about this?" That's great. Like it's a wonderful kinetic environment to be in. And I think you do a really good job of kind of like curating that for people. It's really cool.
I'm lucky enough to hang out with all of you in one spot. It makes it easy for me.
Yeah.
So Alexa, you've been to one CBP Connects. Going into it, what surprised you about it versus what you expected?
Yep. Oh man, I honestly think my greatest memory, or what I remember, is when I had to build a brewery with other people that attended. So we were going through different departments' needs and give me tons of insight. So I would definitely say that was a big surprise on how the sessions went and how much education was brought to everyone. And the second part of your question, I'm sorry, we kind of cut out there a little bit with my signal.
No, I was saying, is there anything that, surprised you perhaps? I know that surprised you a little bit, but is there anything else?
All the breweries and planning that were in attendance. That was a big surprise for me. A lot of new breweries that were popping up, just looking for education, and to kind of piggyback off of what Ross said, tons of ideas being thrown around, right? So that was really cool. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, at that Virginia workshop, I know there was a few breweries here in Virginia that were about to open their doors. And I think a couple of them now have been in operation for about 4 and 8 months at this point in time. So they're, reflecting on what they've learned and what they've expected it to be and trying to make the best changes to be as successful as possible. And when you mentioned, the icebreaker there, when we had everybody build a brewery out of arts and craft supplies. So for me going into this, like that first workshop, I had no idea. I knew I wanted to build those relationships. I knew I wanted to get people interacting on a deeper level, but I had no idea how to do it. And I've got a 4-year-old. So I'm like, what does my kid like to do? And how could that translate to making grownups work together, but have like a moral to the story? The goal was kind of threefold. You need to meet strangers. You need to do something together. And you need to walk away with some greater good from that session. I promise we're not going to be building breweries again because I can't repeat anything, but there may be some sort of component that gets you out of your seat early on that Tuesday morning. Scott, I know you're going to get them active too, but we're going to get them ready for you the next day.
So I've actually personally attended some breweries that probably could have benefited from your crafts and your craft opener, arts and crafts.
Yeah, the concrete poetry thing we did, it was not concrete poetry, but it was the drawing names from a hat, and that's the name of the brewery, and that whole conceptual one, that was one of my favorites. I think about that often.
That was a good time, and you definitely impressed. We'll just leave it at that.
Look, Penn and I talk about it pretty often. That might become an actual brewery one day. So
What was the name? So for everyone who was not at CBP Connects Milwaukee, we challenged everyone, I'll tell you now because we're not going to do it again, to create a theme song about your make-believe brewery. You were given essentially a made-up brewery name, put in a team with strangers, and you had to tell the story of your brand literally through like a jingle, through a song. Do you remember the name of yours?
Yeah, because it was literally like the start of it was you drew 2 words from a hat, like concrete poetry style. And ours were puzzle and lucky. So it was Lucky Puzzle Brewing, where everything just fits. And like it was just like one of those like just Mad Men moment where it's just like it just flowed. Everybody like at that table was in the space. It was wonderful. Lucky Puzzle. It may happen. Just stay posted.
You better register the domain name.
Exactly.
Puzzle Brewing. Yeah, it's a good one. So, Scott, we've shared a little bit about what happens, but what do you expect? What are you excited for?
Aside from meeting you in person?
I'm absolutely excited for that.
Hey, a lot of things. The connections are really important. And for services like ours, we need to know what's not working in craft so we can come up with solutions for it. Just like Ross said, wherever the gaps exist and how can we fill them? And that happens not academically. That happens when you're out in the field and meeting people, and everybody is open to talking about what's not working with craft so that we can make it work together. I think that's one of the biggest things that I take, aside from meeting all the people, friends out there like Common House Ale Works. We're excited to be there. Glad to be a part of it.
Now, before we dive into my next talking point for this little time, I want to showcase, was it Lucky Puzzle Brewing? Is that what it is, Ross?
Yeah.
We're going to bring Lucky Puzzle to the stage.
Oh, no. There's footage that exists of it.
Oh, you look great.
Wow.
Yeah. It feels so different to be confronted with it in reality.
Lucky Puzzle Brewing, where magic's in the tank, raise your glass of flavor, there's a microwave, where every single taste there's the puzzle to unravel, fill the lucky puzzle where there's good times travel. Down a Lucky Puzzle, the brewers are bold, find your perfect blend, the flavors unfold. Gingerbread, almond sugar, fruit so true. Lucky Puzzle Brewing, we're here for you.
Wow.
Everybody give it up for Ross and Lucky Puzzle Brewing on that one. That's how you write a brewery theme song.
I love it.
I feel like I'm sign up right now because Ross dropped the mic. That was awesome.
The bad part is that I did not go into the subsequent pitch that was necessary for the rest of the brewery, like what we did, what the ethic, whatever. But really, that was the best place to mic drop it. And really, I think it's all downhill from here, guys.
It really helped set the vibe for the rest, because that was early in the morning on a Tuesday. I think that got people interacting a little bit more than we were just ready to meet new people and learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's that thing, man. It came from here. I felt moved. We left it out there on the field,
So next question for you all, because Ross and Alexa, you've been to a CBP Connects before. Do you have any tips for others to best prepare? I think last time one person said, drink more water. Someone said bring both warm and cold clothes because you never know what to expect in Charleston. So you can't take those 2 tips. But any tips for getting ready for December?
I would just say come really open.
No,
I'm sorry. It seems like you're on a delay, so I'll just jam it out. I would say just come really open. Come super primed for whatever you're. And this sounds strange to say out loud, but like materialize the things that you want to experience and put it out there, because more often than not, you're probably going to find someone who's thinking similar thoughts and is willing to have a conversation about it. So I'd say come more open and vulnerable maybe than you ever are.
I like it. Alexa?
He actually stole my thunder there. I was going to say open-minded, right? I mean, when you show up to something like this, where it's just continued education, continued learning environment, and be open to learning, but also be open to gaining new friendships and relationships, right, with the people around you. You never know who can help you out in the future and things of that nature. So that's what I would recommend.
And Alexa, good thing there's not going to be a lag in person. We'll be able to have a conversation in real time. So I know that's something I'm looking forward to as well. Now, Scott, have you been to Charleston?
Pardon.
No, not yet.
You haven't been to Charleston before, Ross?
No. And it's one of the cities I've been told repeatedly I need to go visit. Everybody
tells me it's their favorite. Alexa, have you been? You've been.
This will be my first time.
Oh my gosh. I feel like the last panel we had to get excited for it, everybody had been to Charleston but me. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to visit for the first time with you all. It's going to be a good time, and we're going to be there this December 4, 5, and 6. For everybody else, if you haven't got your registration yet, there is still time. It's about a few weeks away. So we hope to see you this December 4, 5, and 6 in Charleston, South Carolina for CBP Connects. And as we close off of this, I'm very excited to see the three of you in person. And Ross, you said, you must manifest what you want out of the experience. You've been to a few by now. What do you want at this one that's a little bit different than those in the past? Is there any new goals that you have that you're hoping to have a conversation on or just take away?
Yeah, I think this is going to be, we've organically, it was kind of weird actually, the New Realm conversation, actually, that kind of started with you. There's been a number of different levels of connection to those folks there. And we're really developing our relationship together. And I'm super excited to be able to kind of use that relationship to showcase what we're doing in a different way than we've been able to in the past. And actually, there's some pretty significant over-market products as well that we'll be able to show off too. So this is just, like I said, it's more of the same. This is a growing year. We continue to grow. Things become more accessible. Relationships continue to grow. So it's really just about, for lack of a better term, showing that off and really being proud of our progression and being able to say, hey, look how far we've come, guys. It's pretty cool.
Well, I'm excited to try it. The team at New Realm is great. Mitch Steele and his team and everyone with New Realm has been really great involved in CBP. We're going to be hosting our night 3 reception in Charleston at their spot in Charleston, of course. And Jeff, the brewer, I know you've been interacting with quite a bit. Ross, it's a good guy, good taste in music. You'll have a pleasure meeting him in person.
Not yet. No, I'm looking forward
to
it. Yeah, we got to hang out with Mitch at MBAA. He actually went to brewing school with one of my colleagues, so it's kind of just like a little mutual appreciation society. So it'll be fun to kind of connect all those dots, and that's why it's a part of the name, man. You connect. That's what you do.
Can't wait. And the other receptions we're going to be hosting at, we're going to be at Holy City to kick things off, and then we're going to be at Common House. So really looking forward to coming to South Carolina. Huge thanks to all the brands that helped make this possible. Ross, you and Abstrax have been huge for your 30s. Scott, can't wait to learn from you. But Arryved's been a huge supporter of CBP since the earlier days. We're really appreciative of them. There's going to be a trade show. We're going to have 20 vendors. So you actually get time to know everyone there because they're dedicated to the industry. But Alexa and Scott, final question for you is, what do you hope to take away from this one? Alexa, for you, maybe that's different than the first go round, perhaps. And Scott, coming into this blind, you've heard the stories, you've seen the songs. What do you want to walk away with when that Wednesday night reception at New Realm ends?
Personally, definitely new connections. I think that would be awesome. I mean, I've have a few clients in South Carolina already, and I'm looking to get to know the area more and really what people are looking for in that area. So definitely building relationships and connecting myself. That's definitely for sure.
Well, safe travels from Florida, and I'll see you in a few weeks. Scott?
Well, I'm excited to learn more about beer on the East Coast. Being in Denver, we have plenty of beers here, but the styles, obviously, and what the innovation calendar looks like. And then if I could just add, I would hope that your attendees would really leave with something from every session, one actionable item that they can immediately take back and implement. This is our opportunity, it seems, to once a quarter, twice a year, give people a playbook to win. And so I hope they take full advantage of that.
No, I love that, Scott. I couldn't have said it any better. Well, Alexis, Scott, and Ross, super excited to see you face to face very soon. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see everybody in Charleston. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.